This is the fifth episode of this series on the history of the Republic of the Sudan since ancient times to today's times. In the last episode, I brought what the American anthropologist, Miss Dr. William Y. Adams, the author of this book, Nubia, Corridor to Africa, he quoted intellectual ancient Greeks such as the great poet of ancient Greek, Homer, of the Iliad, and the father of history, Herodotus, and he showed how they were so fascinated about the Nubia and Nubian peoples, to the degree that Homer believed that as if they are very closest to gods. At that time, they have many gods in Athens. Uh, Herodotus himself said about the Nubia, when he came to the Nubia area, he came at the beginning at the lower Nubia, and he said, this is the fountainhead of civilizations. But he did not miss the opportunity to make some sort of comparison between that very positive, very impressive impression about the Nubians, about the black people. They used to call them the Ethiopians or the Nubian. Ethiopians mean people of burnt faces, to be fascinated by white Europeans. Yes, I'm not talking about black and white in any sense of racism. I believe that all people created equal. But just to share the contrast between, he mentioned, he said, when the paradigm shift happened after the industrial revolution in Europe, Europeans began to feel that they are more superior than the rest of human races. And that, due to that, and also due to the theory of evolution, there was some sort of feeling that the black people are at the bottom of the ladder of human evolutions. And due to this, as you know, to this racist feeling and this Eurocentrism in Europe, the black race suffered more than any race on the surface of the earth so far. I mean, at that time, from the 17th century, 18th century, started the trade of slavery, and then the other African in the continent subjugated to a very brutal kind of colonialism for more than 50, sometimes 60, sometimes 100 years in some places. But he himself, I mean, William Y. Adams, he said that began gradually due to the discoveries, due to the DNA and scientific fact, that this is not necessarily true. And some change of this started to come out after some archaeological discoveries in many places in Africa. For example, all of a sudden people realized that there was a very strong, very advanced at that time kingdom of Zimbabwe in the South African part of the continent. South Africa itself witnessed before that a very successful civilizations, and then the Zulu kingdom in the 19th century. In 1774, even before that, I mean, there was a white American scholars at the University of 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 Harvard wrote a very interesting book in 1920s called Africa and called the Discovery of Africa. His name was Louis Weiner's America and the Discovery, the Africa and the Discovery of America. I'm sorry, this is a book, very famous book, but he was mocked at that times. Nobody believed him. Later on, but we could say that from that time on, there was some chain reaction to that. This is followed, of course, by discoveries in East Africa when they found in the triangle of Afar the oldest skeleton, which is they call it Lucy. This was in 1774, and after that we have this chain reaction. They found the remains of the Zimbabwe civilizations. People talk about also this Mali Mansa Musa who discovered America about the 12th century, and where they discovered that Mali has a number of respected universities at that time, and so forth. And so people start changing their mind about the black race. You see it in this area. Recently, this is one of the book which I mentioned earlier, written by Martin Bernal, which is called Black Athena. Athena, of course, is Athens. And he said about the book, the Afro-Asiatic roots of the classic civilizations. The classic civilizations is a term which used for the period, the area in history in which we came to know about Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle and others. The most brighter period in the Greek civilizations that they call that classic, the classicism. He said that at that time the Greeks themselves wrote their history and said that they were colonized by Egypt for 200 years and attributed some statement to Plato himself. He said he studied mathematics and philosophy there in Egypt. And when they asked him about what do you mean by Egypt, he said the proper way to discover, to describe Egypt at that time is to mention the Nile Valley civilizations, which necessarily included northern part of Sudan of that. And I remember very well, he was interviewed here by some African Americans. He brought images of Akhenaten and others. They look very like the people, even the Nubian of today in northern Sudan. So this began to change. And now the latest change in this came from very reputable school of the Oxford University. They have Oxford Big Data Institute, which in 2022, very recently, by very deep studies of DNA throughout the history, they came to the conclusion that the homeland of mankind was a place in Sudan, which is 250 miles from Khartoum north. This is about 400 kilometers, which is very close to the Karima city of today. He said that the first out of Africa migration took place in this area. And in addition to that, Professor Azza, a DNA specialist at the University of Khartoum, said after 300,000 years of that, the Euro-Asians came back to the Horn of Africa. They settled there. And this is the reason why the population today of that part of Africa is different in feature than the rest of African people due to the admixture of the African with this Euro Eurocenter, Euro-Asians migration to the area.